do as you like. Lovely. Okay,
Hopefully we're recording now.
we are. I just got a notification.
Jolly good.
Okay, John, over to you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for coming along. Thank you, Kelly, for a very interesting session. It's fascinating to know, isn't it, how overlooked non-fiction has been in the whole sort of reading environment. But we're doing our best at What on Earth to change that. You know, one book at a time. We're changing that whole sort of scenario. And some of you have maybe seen the magazine before. Some of you might be new to the magazine. Um, but we actually launched the magazine just over, oh, I don't know, just over 2 years ago now. Sorry, Kelly, will you keep an eye on chat or Sarah, please? Yeah, lovely. Um, we launched it a couple of years ago, and it was a very steep learning curve for us. We've been publishing books for quite a while, all non-fiction, all aimed at young people. And then, of course, over a cup of coffee one day, we decided we'd launch a monthly magazine, because wouldn't it be nice to be able to connect on a much more regular basis with young people? And we got over the shock of having to produce it every month, and started sort of developing it. And we undertook the first study with Kelly, which was very successful and very encouraging. And as a result, we went back to Professor Kremen and said, look, we've got this idea of trying to expand this study and put some data together that might be useful and might actually be very helpful in schools. So I think the first thing is, I don't know, hopefully you've all got your comedy special edition. I sent a, oh, look at that. I sent a copy round to all the schools. I just thought we might be able to, oh, just to say, oh, there we are. That's you, Sarah. um, I sent a copy round. I just thought it might be nice to have a quick look and share a few pages together while we're talking about this. If you haven't got a copy, oh great, Cheryl, I can see yours is there. Everyone is this sort of magazine waving moment. I thought we could share a few pages. If you haven't got one, there's a link online which we'll give you the link afterwards, and you can access the edition and just take a note of the pages that we're looking at now, and it'll all become sort of familiar. But basically, the first and really most important thing to do is keep reminding yourself that this is non-fiction. It's so colourful, it's so engaging, but it's all non-fiction, and we pride ourselves in the accuracy of the information that goes in there. We've worked for many years with Britannica, the encyclopedia people, and we imprint for them in the UK. And when we put the magazine together each month, what we do is we try to find lots of different ways that the children can actually approach the magazine. And I don't know if you've got it in front of you. If you have, but you'll see straight away on page 6 that we've got a double spread with only a few words on them, no text at all. There's a little bit of text somewhere there telling you who we are. But it's just a great way for a child that's perhaps not so comfortable with all these words to actually access it. Or if you go to page 27, you will see that we've got a treasure hunt, a sort of Where's Wally of a seaside town. Or we've got on page 34, you'll find puzzles. But we also try and channel the young people as they go through the magazine. Page 39, we've got an article on evolution. Actually, we worked with Sarah Darwin, the granddaughter of Charles Darwin. And this is an article we've put together from a publication that we made. None of the books that we refer to in the magazine are copy and paste. We publish, oh, there we go. We publish books with names that you will recognize in the magazine, like Factopia or Evolution and so on, but none of the material is copy and paste. It's all tailored specifically to the magazine. And we mix it up each month, and we try and make sure that the magazine is something that the children are actually going to want to reach for. It's something that's going to excite them and bring them into it. So the magazine moments that we need to talk about, for the study. That's the idea of just having a little 5-minute session at the beginning of a magazine period or magazine reading period, where you're just going to try and excite the children by bringing to their attention something within the magazine. Now, I don't like reading bullet points, so I won't do that. But the whole idea is to make it natural, to make it organic, to make it fluid, and to make it straightforward, really. We're not trying to do anything terribly complicated here. Page 12, you'll see there, for example, on the magazine. Page 12 is a section all about how to talk in goat, how to chat in goat. And what you'll actually notice if you look at the spread is that the text in the spread is actually repeated. And the whole essence of that is that goats, when they chat to each other, they don't have an expansive language, but they use expression, they use form within the sentences that they create, or what we would call sentences, and that conveys different meanings. So it might just be a simple activity which says, oh, let's think of a dozen phrases that have two meanings. Or can we think of a phrase that, when we move the comma, it gives a different meaning to that sentence? So it could be something as simple as that. But the whole thing about the magazine moment is it mustn't become a lesson. It mustn't slide into the trap of becoming part of the lesson. It has to be casual and relaxed. So, if you go to page 29 in the magazine, sorry, we're zipping through at a rate of knots here. On the top right-hand spread, you've got the life cycle of a butterfly. And that might be something that, is just sparked by conversation. It might be somebody's found a caterpillar in the playground. It might be a discussion that was had 2 days ago about change, or something as simple as that. So sometimes there's little sort of packaged items that can be used for a magazine moment in themselves. But also there are other sort of moments that can occur. Sorry, I'm just fiddling around there. And if we go to page 48, where are we? Page 48. Page 48. Page 48, we've got one of our longer articles. Now that's actually an article about Genghis Khan, how he built up the biggest empire. But actually, that can also relate back to something you talked about earlier. Genghis Khan was kicking around and building his empire in the early 1200s. So you might be able to relate that magazine article back to a lesson you've covered, talking about Magna Carta and rights and freedoms, or attaching it to a lesson that you've had about the fertile crescent, where land and farming first sort of really started making a difference to the ability of the empire to grow and expand. So it could be something fairly serious, referring back to a previous lesson. It could be Genghis Khan's expansion into China and Asia and Russia, and looking at the modern political situations, if you really want to get that serious about it. But the example that I liked best for this one, there's definitely a personal interest here, as I was telling Kelly earlier, is if you go to page 9, what you will find is, hang on, that's page 9. Yes, there we are. Page 9, there's an article about a brown bear. And if you read in that article, you'll find out that a brown bear is actually about 500 kilos. And if you go to page 48, I'm doing this in reverse order, page 48, you'll find out that the biggest ever bar of chocolate was about 5,800 kilos, 5,792.5. And if you go to page 43, there are some statistics about whales, and the fact that a blue whale weighs in at 160,000 kilos. And these are all great, and they're all small factoids, to use that lovely word that Kelly used earlier. But what you can do is you can stitch them together, and you can create a lovely fabric. So I can tell you now, as part of my magazine moment, that the whale's heart, oh, and by the way, I mean, this is perhaps not perfectly true, but let's assume I weigh 90 kilos, just roughly. But now we know that the whale's heart is twice my weight, and a bear is 3 times the whale's heart, or 6 times my weight. And you'd need 320 bears to make up the weight of a whale, and the chocolate bar is 10 times the weight of a bear. Not to mention, the chocolate bar is 60 times heavier than me. So you can just stitch together facts from the magazine. Don't feel constricted and that you have to be rigid in taking a piece of text and working with it. Use it in the way that a child would use it, and flick between it and just find things that you like. Maybe it's telling a joke and sharing a dozen jokes. Uh,
Mm. I
as
think
well.
going back to those list principles is a really good way to think about it. Something learner led, something that's going to link to something that we've been chatting about or they're interested in, something informal. Like you say, it's not a test, it's not a quiz, and something social, because really you're trying to get them chatting.
Mm.
So that's all that guidance for group one. But of course, after the study, you might decide that you want to carry on with some magazine moments. Now, group two, remember, in your sessions, you're giving them the magazines and the children are exploring the magazines together and you're exploring with them. So you're not included. It's just that you're not doing that little 5-minute magazine moment at the beginning. We still want you to engage with them and talk to them about the magazine and be involved. But no, thank you for that, John, and thank you for the additional issue and also for the PDF version, which is on the site, which is a good way for them to get to know for teachers to get to know the magazine. Please don't share the magazines with the kids before they've done the surveys, though. It's really important that the magazines aren't shared before then because we need to get that kind of true baseline. Speaking of, oh, you were going to talk about the delivery, weren't
Oh,
you?
yes, just to say, please, following on from what Kelly said there, on the right-hand side of that table, which does appear on the website, please, please, please don't use the magazines before the use in classroom date, which is the last column on the right-hand side. And there you can see a sneaky preview of the titles that are coming up. So we've got rockets will be landing very soon, spiders coming around for Halloween. Then we thought we'd dive into a pyramid and then finish up in December and January with my favorite topic, as we've just proven, chocolate and sweets. Thank you very much, Kelly.
That's great. So we tried to give you roughly 3 weeks for each issue. So just try and stick to the schedule if you can, to make sure you've got a nice balance between all the issues. Okay, so Sarah's going to talk to you about these blue areas at the top. So the baseline surveys and the parental permissions. So over to you, Sarah.
Okay, thank you, Kelly and John, and hello to everyone. Oh, and hello,
And
Teresa.
Lisa
Nice
has
to
just
see that
joined
you
us, which is
joined us.
lovely.
Lovely to see you. Keep going.
Okay. So I just wanted to talk through today with you all as a reminder of the kind of process and order in which we're going to start collecting data, and that first process will be starting next week. So we're asking you to complete the baseline survey. So with the children, that first survey about, do they enjoy reading? What do they like to read? What choices do they make when they're reading? By the end of next week. So that's the 13th of September, I believe. So the idea is that before they get a whiff or a sight of a magazine, which would be from Monday the 16th, that we get their baseline, because obviously that's really important, that we need to compare to the questionnaire at the end and see if there's been any differences effectively. So in terms of the consent process, which is obviously very important ethically to make sure that we've got the consent of the children and the parents, the first thing to say is that on the first page of the children's survey, there's a little bit that it would be really good if you could just take them through it, just read them through it, make sure they understand it in terms of what's the purpose of the project, why are we doing this, what will the questionnaire contain. It should only really take about 5 minutes. We've said 10 minutes, but 5 minutes. And do feel free to help the children out, if they're struggling with reading any of the questions. It's not a test in that sense. We want them to understand completely what it is that we're asking them. Okay, so that's the sort of child's consent, is that, they will actually have to click to say they want to do the study, that they want to do the questionnaire. Hopefully most children will want to do it. There may be a few that don't, and we can't force them. So, if they genuinely are adamant that they don't want to complete the questionnaire, that's fine. Unfortunately, they won't, their data won't be part of the study, but that's their right to do that. Okay. The other important process of permissions is obviously from the parents. So the parents, we're going to give you a bit more time to kind of get the permissions for the parents through. So what we've got to share with you that you can then share with the parents, all on the website, is a little kind of quick little project information poster. As you can see on the left there on the screen. Thank you, Kelly. So this is just to kind of put up in your window and start to kind of hand out if you wanted paper copies and share electronically. And you can do that from tomorrow, just to kind of sort of say this is coming, this is happening. We also need to share with you, unfortunately, they're quite big. They're called parental information sheets. So they're like very officially worded that we have to go through our ethical system, a 2-page information sheet that needs to be available to parents before they kind of consider whether to give consent or not. So what we've got on the website, and this is really important, is a different information sheet depending on the group you're in. So obviously group 1 is teacher-led, group 2 is child-led, and group 3 is our control group, our kind of business as usual group. So we need to make sure the parents are seeing the information for what is actually their child's involvement is for the next 3 months, essentially. And Kelly's just going through to that area now. It is quite long-winded, I'm afraid. It's the nature of the beast that we kind of have to share this information. Parents may have questions, if you could, help parents through the process, talk to them about it, if they have any issues. It's up to you how you share that information. So you may want to send it out as an email to the parents so they can look at it in their own time. You may have apps that you use to share information with parents about the children. You could use that. You can put it on the school website. There's different ways. If you'd like to print out paper copies, if you think that would be helpful for some parents, then please do so. Whatever works for you, really. So yeah, so Kelly's highlighting on screen there, parent project info, all groups. Okay. So that's the sort of information that the parents need. So once the parents have access to that sheet and have hopefully read it, we're then in that part where they can actually give their informed consent. So on the right-hand side of this screen, we're going to have, this will be sent out to schools. It's going to be hot off the press. John is sending it out for print tomorrow. And these will be paper copies that you can distribute to parents with spares, because we know things get lost in bags and so on and so forth. And it just takes, again, it takes the parents through the different aspects that they need to understand they're giving their consent to. And there's 2 different versions of the consent form, one for groups 1 and 2, and then one for group 3. So hopefully the right type will find its way to your school.
Yeah, as we're having the focus groups with groups 1 and 2, we had to have a slightly different consent for those 2 groups, which is why group 3, yours is slightly different.
Yeah, and a bit shorter in that sense. Okay, so yeah, so the process of collecting the consent can start from as soon as you've got the consent forms, really. So you can start to release the parental information sheets from tomorrow, and then start the process of collecting consent once you've handed them out. What we're asking you to do is to collate and send back to us whether the children in your class do or do not have permission in an Excel file by the 23rd of September. So it's just giving a bit more time to chase up and sort of bring in, you know, those parental permissions.
Yeah, so
And
if you notice that last kind of section on the flow chart, so John will send you an Excel pro forma, and it'll just be a case of putting in the children's names, because what we'll have to do is where we don't have permission, we'll have to delete any survey responses where we don't have permission. So that you don't need to send us the actual permission forms, you keep them in school. We just need that one-page Excel that says, these are the kids and these are the permissions that we've received.
yeah, right. So yeah, so in that sense, what we're doing is, because the alternative would be to say we need all the consents from parents back by the end of next week, and obviously that's not that's feasible. So what we can do is we can go back to the questionnaire data, as Kelly said. Anyone at that point after the 23rd that doesn't have parental permission, we simply delete the data. It's like, you know, that doesn't exist anymore. And obviously we proceed with the data from the children that have obviously consented themselves because they filled in the questionnaire, and they also have the consent from the parents. So I hope that's fairly
Did
clear.
anyone want to ask
Yeah,
anything about
there
that?
was
This
one
flow
question.
chart process is on the participant area, so you can kind of be reminded. But did anyone want to ask anything? Just there's a lot of steps to make sure we're within ethical agreement.
As something, if something occurs to you while I'm chatting, pop it in the chat, and you know we'll get back to you as the meeting goes on.
I think,
Okay,
can I just add one quick thing, which is that I do think parents usually love their kids to be part of projects where, you know, universities and indeed free, you know, publishers are working together to give rich free resources into the classroom. And of course, all the children will access those resources, but to be part of the study, the parent has to say, yeah, I'm happy that these magazines come into the classroom. Yeah, I'm happy that Nathan is in a focus group. Yeah, I'm happy that, do you see what I mean? So it's really only that it's not that we're not taking videos, we're not trying to kind of name a child. Everything would be anonymous. We're just reassuring parents that this is going to be happening. It's a bit different. We didn't normally have What on Earth magazine in our classroom, and there'll be visitors coming to, in some cases, to observe what's going on and to chat to the children. So it's part of classroom practice, but it's potentially it's an intervention. It's different than you'd be doing. And so that's why we have to alert parents to it so they can accept that that's happening. So I think keeping it low key, because it doesn't need to be more than, helps parents see, oh, this is going to be an opportunity for our kids. They're getting a new magazine in. What's happening there? That's interesting. Yeah, I'd like them to be part of it. So that it's positively inclined rather than a kind of process. You need to get this piece of paper, then I'm sending you that. You need to tick it. It's, you know, something my son can participate in at school, new extras. Yeah, let's have it.
Yeah, we just need to be really transparent and have the information. You probably won't have very many people who ask to see the information sheet, but if they did, you have it available. So all the surveys are in the participant area. Can you see them here? So the pupil entry survey, that's where you get to it. You just click on it, it takes you right to the survey, and then the teacher survey is also there as well.
Sorry,
Yes.
I was just going to say, is it worth mentioning that the best way for the children to complete the pupil survey? Talk about how we'd like to group them.
Yeah, I can take that. Yeah, so what we were intending and what we'd said to you previously is that from our perspective and your perspective, the best thing next week would be to find a little slot, a half-an-hour slot, where all the children can complete the online questionnaire together. Obviously, as I said, those that are adamant they're not going to do it, you know, they won't do it. But for the others, so yeah, if you've got a computer room or you've got your Chromebooks or whatever it is that you use, it's probably the easiest way to do it. So hopefully that sounds reasonable to you all. I also just wanted, sorry, Kelly, I know you're moving ahead, but I just wanted to quickly mention the teacher consent and information process as well. So on the website will also be participant information sheets for teachers as well. Again, divided up to group 1, group 2, and group 3. So for those members of staff that are maybe joining us for the first time, they know they're taking part in the study, but perhaps don't have the details completely nailed down yet. You know, go through that sheet. Hopefully it'll answer any questions you have. If it doesn't, then, you know, do get in touch with us.
We also have a booklet. So we have a launch booklet that has information about groups and different things. Someone has asked for the password for the site. I can't remember, but it is on one of these slides. So it'll be coming up in a moment.
The chat.
Oh, have you? Wonderful.
I'll put it
Okay.
in. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, that's wonderful. So, just in terms of your study groups, just in case you didn't know, so we have group 1. These are the group 1 schools and the classes and the number of pupils. So this is the group that will do that short little magazine moment for 5 minutes at the start of each session. So groups 1 and 2, you each will have a weekly magazine session. The only difference is group 1 has a little 5-minute magazine moment at the start, and group 2 doesn't have a magazine moment. But both groups, you've got teachers reading the magazine with the kids, chatting, engaging. It's social, it's informal. Okay. This is group 2. Okay, so we've got 219 pupils in group 2 across 5 schools. And Sarah and I, of course, will be visiting the schools in groups 1 and 2 for the focus groups. And the purpose of the focus groups is to get some additional information from both the pupils and the teachers about how they engage, what they liked, what they didn't like. Those of you in group 3, you will get your magazines in January. Okay, so we're really excited to get your survey information and to find out about pupils' perceptions and teachers' perceptions. And then you have full access to the magazines in January as well. So you just have to wait a little bit longer. Um, in terms of the focus group, so as I say, it will be either Sarah or I visiting you. I believe all those visits have been organized now. I think Oasis has, we've got theirs in as well. So those will be happening. You've got your date, and John has kindly put those dates all on the site for us as well. And the reason why we're doing what we're going to be doing, because we will be interviewing only kind of 4 pupils per class, roughly 4 pupils. And you might wonder, well, how are we going to select? We're going to use a mixed methods approach. Okay, so we're going to use the survey responses. So we might look at a question like, how much do you enjoy reading? And we might filter out some of the children who say they really don't enjoy reading. And then we'll ask you as the teachers, okay, X, Y, and Z said they don't like reading. Do you consider any of these to be reluctant readers? Which are the ones that you would consider to be reluctant? And then we'll choose the focus pupils. So that's why we call it mixed methods, because it uses both quantitative and qualitative methods to give us the best picture. And then we'll meet with those children. We have a set of questions that we'll ask. We'll meet with the teachers as well during our visits. So when we do come to visit, we'll need somewhere that we can meet with the children. Ideally, you know, with a member of staff there as well, if that's possible. If the teacher can come in, I know it just depends on how you'll organize it. But Sarah and I will get in touch with you with more specific details just prior to those events. Here we go. There's the password. So keeping in touch. As I said, John has set up the website with the dedicated project participant area on the What on Earth website. So if you go to the top of the What on Earth website, it says schools. And when you scroll down, you'll find the project page, and there is the password. John's also set up a WhatsApp, and of course there's social media to keep in touch. Do let us know. You have our emails and contact information. If you have any questions or if you're unsure about anything, just let us know, because especially in the beginning with all the permissions, it seems a little bit complicated. We appreciate that, but we promise It's not complicated after that. It's just fun with magazines and chatting and enjoying and talking to each other. I mean, what could be better? Free magazines and an opportunity to chat. So we're really pleased that you've taken part with us in this study. Did anyone want to ask anything, or Teresa, do you want to add anything in?
Could I,
No,
sorry,
I
just
just think, sorry, go
to
on, Simon.
interrupt. Kelly, would you mind just going back to the slide that had the reference numbers on for the school? Because I realise we haven't gone through that.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, that's the one. So yeah, just to say that so teachers, when you're completing your questionnaires next week, again, we'd like you to complete yours next week before you start using the magazines, so we get your baseline. So the group 1 and 2 teachers, I should say, when you fill in your questionnaire, and then obviously when all the children fill in their questionnaire, on the first page, you're going to be asked for your school number. So if you could make a note of what your school number is, because what that means is when we get all the data in, the first thing we're going to want to see is, you know, what school are the children coming from and things like that. So if we have this unique reference number, we can keep track of that data.
They forget it is on the website.
It is on the
Yeah.
website. I mean, everything we've talked about is all on the website, but it's, I appreciate it's quite a lot of information.
Just easier to type 3 numbers than to type in your school name every time when you're doing the survey. So hopefully the 3 numbers will be a lot easier to add in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Sorry, carry
I
on.
just add to that I think it's a terrific project, and your school is not being assessed as a school in any way. It's part of the group. So your 101 or your 131 is part of the pink group, or the magazine moments group, or part of group 3. You see what I mean? So I want you to really have faith that there is no sense in which we're looking at a school and the impact or otherwise in a given school. That's not relevant. What's relevant is the group that you're in and the collective shift or otherwise with the children in that group. But thank you. I just want to say thank you. It's terrific to have schools who are so keen, not just to have free magazines, but to begin to understand more about how kids make choices. Non-fiction has always been under research. We know fiction has always had a higher profile. There's a European Research Council grant, very big one, 4-year grant happening with a colleague in Czechia, and she's looking at non-fiction and is describing it as the invisible genre. Children don't recognize it as they're reading. They think reading is books, is stories. And that's not surprising, I think, really. But magazines may provide a way for the young people to find and recognize the power of reading whatever they want, rather than what somebody requires them to or expects them to, because stories are kind of rarefied. So I'm not anti-stories, I'm pro the both, but I just wanted to kind of highlight for you, this is actually quite, innovative, which is great.
That's exactly what I said at the beginning, Teresa. That's a lovely little bookend.
That was really, yeah.
Yeah, that's lovely. Well, thank you so much. And if you have any questions, do hang about, but we appreciate it's end of the day. And Nicola and Ian said, can we access the results for the school? We won't be aggregating them by school, but we will be producing a summary report overall, as Teresa said, by group. So the impact of group 1, the schools that were in group 1, the schools that were in group 2.
Yeah, but it's an interesting question. If we see how much, group 2 or group 1 is, it would be interesting to then, in a future work, begin to kind of offer schools the opportunity to do a survey like that and then be able to receive it back. But NLT do survey not in relation to magazines, but in relation to children's reading habits, as you know. So if you want to get your own school perspective back on that might be a route to go. Lovely to see your dog, Catherine. My cat's making a racket here.
Excellent.
Thanks so much, everyone. We'll put the
very much.
recording for this section on the site as well. So if you need to revisit, or if any members of staff weren't here for this second half, they can rewatch.
Brilliant. Thanks very much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.